Okay, so it's December 1941. Japan just bombed Pearl Harbor, and America is furious, sleeves up, ready to fight. With Japan. Specifically, Japan. Germany is all the way over in Russia, freezing to death outside Moscow, having an absolutely miserable time. And America hasn't said one word to them. Hitler is not on the list. He's fine. He's safe. And Hitler looks at this. He looks at the single richest, most powerful country on the entire planet, a country that is not even mad at him. And he goes, "You know what I could really use right now? That guy, as an enemy." And he declares war on the United States. Nobody made him. There's no treaty forcing him. His own generals are like, Sir, we are losing a war in the snow. Please." He does it anyway. 4 days after Pearl Harbor, the guy who is already losing walks up to the biggest kid on Earth and picks a fight for fun. Nobody asked him to. He just did it. And honestly, that's the whole war. That's the whole guy. Because World War II is basically one man being handed the most powerful army on Earth, and then, with that army, making the single dumbest decision available to him, over and over and over, and somehow getting away with it. Right up until the moment he really didn't. But to get how a guy this self-destructive got that far, you've got to meet him first, back when he was nobody. So, Vienna, early 1900s. Young Adolf wants to be an artist. He applies to the big art school. They reject him. He applies again. They reject him again, and basically go, "Hey, you're not a painter. Your stuff is all buildings. Maybe try architecture?" He does not try architecture. He's broke. He's selling little postcards of his own paintings to scrape by. He's sleeping in a shelter. And then, in 1914, the First World War shows up like a gift. Hitler signs up the second he can, runs messages on the front line. And here's the weird part. He loves it. Genuinely calls it the best time of his life. Because for once, something wants him. He belongs. Then, Germany loses the war. And Hitler takes it personally. Like, deeply, permanently personally. And Germany itself? A total wreck. The country's buried in war debt, so it just prints money to cope, until the cash is worthless. People literally burning it for heat because it's cheaper than firewood. A whole nation, broke and humiliated and furious. After the war, he sticks around in the army, and they give him a little job. Go spy on the tiny political parties popping up around Munich. So he goes to spy on one tiny workers' party in a beer hall, and he's sitting there listening, and he just can't help himself. He stands up and gives this furious speech, and he's good, scary good. The guy running the party basically goes, You should join us." So the spy joins the thing he was spying on, takes it over, renames it, and congratulations, that's the Nazi Party. 1923, he gets cocky and tries to overthrow the local government. It flops instantly. He gets arrested, put on trial, and the trial gets blasted all over the news. So suddenly, the whole country knows this angry little man with the big speeches. He gets a cushy sentence, reads his fan mail in prison, writes a book about how great Germany's going to be, and strolls out a celebrity. And then the universe hands him the perfect gift. 1929, the Great Depression. The economy faceplants. Everybody's broke and scared and angry. And here's a guy who's been screaming, "Germany got robbed, and I will make us great again," for 10 years straight. People eat it up. He even runs for president and loses, coming in second to an actual First World War hero. Doesn't matter. By 1933, through a mix of votes, backroom deals, and politicians who were sure they could control him, they could not, Hitler is running Germany. And almost overnight, it's a dictatorship. Now watch this. Hitler starts tearing up the rules Germany agreed to after World War I. He builds an army he's banned from having. He marches troops into a zone he's banned from touching. And Britain and France, who could absolutely squash him right now while he's still weak, look at all of it and decide to do Nothing. They just survived one nightmare war. They do not want another. So they let it slide. And Hitler clocks that instantly. Oh, they won't stop me. Cool. So he grabs Austria. Just walks in. The Austrians mostly cheer. Then he wants a piece of Czechoslovakia. And now Britain and France are sweating. So everybody meets up and cuts a deal. Hitler gets that one piece. And in exchange, he pinky promises that's it. He's done. No more. Britain's prime minister flies home waving the paper going, "Peace! We have peace!" 6 months later, Hitler takes the rest of Czechoslovakia. So that promise? Greatest fraud in history. And Britain and France, who keep going, okay, surely that was the last thing he wanted. Yeah, it was never the last thing. Next up, Poland. There's a chunk of land Hitler wants, Poland says no, and Hitler decides he's just going to take it by force. One problem. If he hits Poland, Britain and France might come at him from the west, and Russia is sitting right there on the east. That's the two-front war. The exact thing that got Germany killed last time. So Hitler does something nobody saw coming. He calls up Stalin, his supposed mortal enemy, the communist he's hated his entire life, and cuts a secret deal. You take half of Poland, I take half, and we promise not to touch each other. They split Poland like a pizza. Best friends. Remember this. We are coming back to it. September 1st, 1939. Germany pours into Poland with no warning. And this is the world's first real look at Blitzkrieg, lightning war. The idea is stupidly simple. Don't grind forward slowly like last time. Punch one hole with tanks, flood through it fast, and be 40 miles behind the enemy before they've finished their coffee. Speed. Just total, overwhelming speed. Poland never stands a chance. Then Stalin invades from the other side, exactly like they agreed, and Poland is gone in about a month. Britain and France finally go, okay, that's it, and declare war. This is officially World War II. And then they do nothing. Again. For months. Everyone just sort of stands around. People literally called it the phony war. Germany is not complaining. Germany's busy. Because next, Hitler turns to the country he hates most, France. And France is ready. Sort of. After World War I, France built a wall. Not a metaphor. An actual, enormous, absurdly expensive line of concrete forts and bunkers running hundreds of miles along the German border. They sink something like 16 billion francs into it. Tunnels, giant guns, the works. It's called the Maginot Line, and it is genuinely, seriously impressive. There's just one little gap. Up north, there's this thick forest, the Ardennes, and everyone agrees you could never get tanks through it. Too dense. Impossible. So France barely guards it. You can see where this is going. Germany sends its tanks straight through the Ardennes, the impossible forest. They go around the giant, expensive wall. The wall just sits there being expensive, and suddenly German tanks are loose behind the French lines, and the whole front falls apart. The British and French armies get shoved all the way back to the sea, to a beach town called Dunkirk, with the ocean at their backs and Germans closing in. Hundreds of thousands of trapped soldiers. This should be the end of them. And then, two insane things happen. 1. Britain begs for boats. Any boats. And regular people show up. Fishing boats, ferries, little private yachts, civilians sailing into a war zone to grab soldiers off a beach. They pull off the biggest rescue in history and get about 1/3 men out. 2. And nobody fully understands this to this day. Hitler tells his tanks to stop. Right when he could finish them off, he pauses. Historians still argue about why. Whatever the reason, that pause saved the British Army. One of the great "what are you doing" moments of the war. Either way, Germany takes Paris. France falls. Western Europe is basically Hitler's now. So it's just Britain left. Alone. And to invade Britain, Hitler needs to own the sky first. So the German Air Force flies over to wipe out the Royal Air Force. On paper, it's a mismatch. Germany has way more planes. But Britain has a secret weapon. And it's not a plane. It's radar. a line of towers along the coast that can see the German planes coming before they get there. So instead of guessing, Britain knows exactly where to send its fighters. Every time. The Germans keep showing up, and the British keep being weirdly, impossibly ready. And then comes the dumbest break of the whole thing. One night, some German bombers get lost and accidentally drop their bombs on London. Britain goes, "Oh, it's like that?" and bombs Berlin. Hitler is humiliated and absolutely loses it, and out of pure spite, he orders the Air Force to stop hitting the airfields and start flattening London instead, which was worse for London. But it took the pressure off the air bases right as they were about to crack. Hitler rage quit the one strategy that was actually working. Britain survives. The invasion never happens. That's strike one. First time the dumbest possible move actually bites him. So what does he do? He picks a fight with someone bigger. Here's the thing about Hitler. His whole nightmare, the one thing he swore would never happen again, was a two-front war. Germany lost the last war, getting squeezed from both sides, and he knew it. That's the entire reason he made a deal with Stalin. You stay on your side, I stay on mine, we're cool. They split Poland like a pizza. Best friends. So, naturally, in June 1941, Hitler invades Stalin. With 3 million guys along a front 1,800 miles wide. The largest invasion in human history. Creating, say it with me, a two-front war. The exact thing. He spent the entire war terrified of it, and then built it with his own two hands, because he simply could not help himself. And at first, it works great. 3 giant armies smash into the Soviet Union and just roll. Part of the reason, Stalin had spent the years before this murdering his own best generals, because he was paranoid they'd come for him. So the Soviet army shows up to the biggest war on Earth with half its leadership recently executed by its own boss. Strong start, everybody. But Russia is big, like incomprehensibly big. The Germans keep advancing, and the country just keeps going. And then, with Moscow almost in reach, Hitler does the Hitler thing. He halts the push for the capital and sends a big chunk of his army south to grab Ukraine first. It works, but it burns up precious weeks. And by the time he turns back to Moscow, he gets there right as the Russian winter shows up. 40 below, tanks frozen in the mud, soldiers who packed for a summer trip. The lightning war runs out of lightning. They stall. Right outside the capital. So close. Meanwhile, on the entire other side of the planet, there's a second war going on, and it's about to crash straight into this one. Japan's been fighting across Asia, grabbing land for resources, and it's gotten so big and aggressive that the United States cuts off its oil. For Japan, that's a death sentence. No oil, no war machine. So Japan makes its own dumbest possible move. Instead of backing off, it decides to punch the United States in the face and hope it works out. December 7, 1941. Japan bombs the American fleet at Pearl Harbor. America wakes up, enraged, and declares war on Japan. Germany did not have to get involved. America was mad at Japan, not Germany. Hitler could have just let that be Japan's problem. Instead, 4 days later, while he's freezing outside Moscow and losing, Hitler declares war on the United States anyway. The biggest economy on Earth. Bottomless factories, bottomless soldiers, bottomless money. And he volunteers to fight it, out of loyalty to Japan, because he badly underestimated how much stuff America could build once it got angry. It might be the single worst decision of the entire war, and he made it for basically no reason. Strike 2, and this one's fatal. He just turned a war he was already losing into a war against the whole planet, and America pays him back fast, in the most satisfying way possible. By the summer of 1942, American code breakers have cracked Japan's secret messages. They catch wind of a huge attack coming on a target the Japanese keep calling AF. The Americans are pretty sure AF means Midway Island, but they want to be certain. So they set a trap. They have the base at Midway send out a fake radio message. "Hey, our water system broke. We're running low on fresh water. It's bait. And right on cue, Japan's codes light up. AF is low on fresh water. Gotcha. Now America knows the exact target, the exact time, everything. They ambush the Japanese fleet at Midway and sink 4 of their carriers in a single day. Japan never recovers. The Pacific just flipped. Back in Russia, things go from bad to total catastrophe. At a city called Stalingrad, Hitler throws an entire army at it, and it becomes the worst battle in human history. Months of fighting, street by street, building by building, in the freezing cold. Around 2 million people end up killed, wounded, or captured. At the height of it, a German soldier was dying roughly every 7 seconds, and a Soviet soldier sent into that city had an average life expectancy of about a single day. Eventually, the Soviets surround the whole German army inside the city. The German general on the ground sees it's hopeless and begs Hitler to let him pull out. Hitler says no. Stand and die. The general surrenders anyway. Of the 90-something thousand Germans captured there, only a few thousand ever make it home, years later. It's the turning point in the East. From here on, Germany is going backwards. Around the same time, the Allies knock Italy out of the war. Mussolini, Hitler's buddy, gets toppled, and the walls really start closing in. Then comes the big one, June 1944. The Allies are going to land in France and take Europe back. And to do it, they pull off maybe the greatest trick of the entire war. See, the Germans know an invasion is coming. They just don't know where. So the Allies build a fake army. Inflatable rubber tanks, plywood planes, fake radio chatter. A whole pretend invasion force aimed at the wrong stretch of coast to convince Hitler the real attack is coming there. They even had a double agent feeding Germany lies, a guy the Germans trusted so completely they gave him a medal, an actual medal, for doing such great work, the great work being lying to them. It works perfectly. On June 6th, 150,000 Allied troops storm the beaches of Normandy, the biggest sea invasion ever, while a huge chunk of the German army is still parked somewhere else, guarding a beach nobody was coming to. The Allies flood into France. Paris is freed. By now, even Hitler's own officers think he's lost it, so some of them decide the simplest fix is to just kill him. They sneak a bomb in a briefcase under his conference table. It goes off. It kills people in that room. But the heavy table leg happened to be sitting between Hitler and the blast, and he walks out with a busted eardrum, a bad arm, and that's it. He survives. And now he trusts absolutely no one and starts running the war even more like a cornered, paranoid maniac. Like when he orders the German commander in Paris to burn the whole city to the ground on the way out, blow the monuments, the bridges, all of it. And that commander just refuses, decides he is not going to be the man who destroyed Paris, and surrenders instead. So the Paris you picture in your head right now? Still standing, because one guy ignored Hitler. Hitler's got one gamble left, and his big, brilliant plan is, okay, you're going to love this, to attack through the Ardennes, the forest, again. The exact same move from 1940. He scrapes together his last tanks, waits for thick winter fog so enemy planes can't spot him, and lunges. And for about a week, it kind of works. And then the fog clears, the planes come back, and his last army gets shredded. That was the last real move he had. After that, it's just the ending. The Soviets are storming in from the east, the Allies from the west, and Germany gets squeezed down to nothing. Hitler is so desperate he's handing rifles to old men and literal teenage boys to defend Berlin. Down in a bunker under the city, with the Soviets a few streets away, he marries his girlfriend, Eva Braun, and the next day, the two of them kill themselves. A week later, Germany surrenders. The war in Europe is over. But Japan still won't quit. So the Allies send one final warning: surrender or face complete destruction. Japan's answer is basically silence. So in August 1945, the United States drops an atomic bomb on the city of Hiroshima. 3 days later, another one on Nagasaki. Nothing like it had ever existed. Whole cities gone in a flash. And finally, Japan surrenders. World War II is over. And the two guys left standing tallest when the smoke cleared? The United States and the Soviet Union, who'd just teamed up to win the whole thing, and who almost immediately turned around, looked at each other, and went, "So, about all this," which kicked off a 50-year staring contest with nukes. But that's a whole other video. Anyway, thanks for hanging out and letting me ramble at you about the single dumbest run of decisions in human history. If you had fun, do me a solid. Hit like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and I'll see you there.